Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे ओम श्री हयग्रीवाय नमः ओम श्री वल्लभा समेत श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः We were in the topic of anubhuter-drshyatva-anupapattih. So anubhuti cannot be a drishya vastu. It cannot be an object of cognition. Now, in this context, that last argument was about this samvit, whatever the Vishishtadvaitins call as samvit. They say that samvit cannot be Atma Swarupa because samvit is a kriya for them. It is jnanam or samvit is a kriya. Okay. So that being the case, only the kriya ashreya, which is Atma, is the jnata, they say. Atma is the knower, but the knowledge or jnanam is a modification, correct, or a kriya, and it is only the kriya ashraya is Atma, like that. Samvit is different from Atma, is their thing. And also they say that if you say that samvit itself is Atma Swarupa, how do you establish that, or how do you say that it exists like that? Its very existence, how do you establish? Where is the siddhi of that? But in fact, the siddhanta is what? Atma is swatah siddhaha swaprakasha. So that which is swaprakasha is also swatah siddha, obviously, because that which is to establish that anything exists, you have to know it, correct? And Atma is self-revealing, and therefore we don't have to use any other pramana to establish Atma. In fact, any pramana vyapara implies the Atma already. That's why one simple thing is that if I ask you, are you there? So means everybody will say, I am there, or I am. Then how did you know I am? Means to know I am, I do not have to use any pramana. I did not see myself and say I am there. Or I do not have to do any anumana to arrive at that I am there. Or even Shruti does not reveal the Atma. Understand that. Shruti only is a pramana to remove wrong notions about Atma. Atma is already revealed. It is self-revealing. So that's how we look at it. But this aspect they are not able to understand, or they don't want to understand, because they are already committed to a Vishishta Advaita, they say, correct? In fact, once it is Vishishta, there is no Advaita. It is only Vishishta Dvaita, we have to say, really. Because there is a Vishishta and Visheshana, already there is a Dvaita is there. Then where is the Advaita? There is no real Advaita. It's all only Vishishta Dvaita. So, for them, everything is Visheshana and Vishishta. Like that only they look at everything. And when Ramanuja raised like that how can this siddhi of the samvit be there? We say that whatever you call as samvit is really the vritti jnana, correct? And that vritti takes place, and whatever the phalita jnanam, whatever we say, correct? The phala, because there is a vritti vyapti, phala vyapti, and all that we say. Once the vritti takes place, whatever is the result of that, that jnanam is really the swarupa jnanam has to be there, and that siddhi is not separately required because it is in the form of Nitya Jnanamuni, Nitya Upaladhi Swarupa, and therefore, and it is also Nitya and Aja, we said. It is unborn, eternal, and self-revealing and self-existent reality. And Also, this Atma does not have any sambandha with anything. It, it is asangaha really. Okay, because this whatever is unborn and which is not even uh, subjected to space time, it cannot be really connected to anything. In fact, it's niravayava, without any avayava. Therefore, for any sambandha to happen, there has to be an avayava, because only two the parts of two things alone can come into contact. The partless whole Atma cannot have any sambandha with anything, and also it cannot be, its siddhi cannot be due to something else. Then it will become paratantra, correct? It is swatantra. Atma is swatantra, means it has to be also swata siddha and swaprakasha. All these things are implied. So in this context, once we say this, they say that then everything else will become Shesha Bhuta of Atma. Correct? So Sarvam hi kasyachit Shesha Bhutam Vastu Paratantrattvena Anityam Ajameva. So what we say is everything else which is a Vishaya for this jnana, they are all Paratantra, because their very existence has to be established only by the Atma. Everything becomes evident to Atma, and even by that alone, in fact, they become Mithya. Okay? And they are all Anitya, and they are all also they are born, correct? Therefore, this is how we look at it. That's why even analyzing your own very cognition, you can easily arrive at the Satyam Mithya. Because any object of cognition keeps on changing. The invariable in each and every cognition is consciousness is, correct? Because every cognition, any object you cognize, means that object consciousness is, really speaking. That is the cognition. In this, the object keeps on changing. You can have apple consciousness is, orange cognition is, whatever computer cognition is, correct? All this in this consciousness is the invariable. The objects keep on changing. The invariable in each and every cognition is the consciousness is, which never becomes an object of. That is the beauty, or that is the subtlety there. That is why people miss it, because it's never a object of your, or it can never become an object. But without becoming object only, you have to know that. That's why this Atma Jnanam is subtle, although it is easy in one way. If you understand this, it is easy. So, this is the thing. So, once we say this, what? Nacha Paramatma Shesha Bhutaha Ayamatma Nityaha Eva Ajaha iti Vachyam. So, here, uh, this Jivatma for the Vishishtadvaitan is the Shesha Bhuta or Avayava of Paramatma. Okay. So, that being the case, but if you say anything which is Sesha becomes Anitya, then the Jivatma cannot be Nitya and Aja. Okay. Like this, they are raising a point. How can the Jivatma also in the Gita and all is said as Nityaha only, correct? So once they say this, in fact, they also say this based on this. There is a 15th chapter, one verses there in the Gita, correct? Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashashtani Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati. So at least 15th chapter, all of us know. Why? Because we used to chant it before eating food in our Gurukulam. Any other Gita chapter, most of us may not know, but 15th chapter, everybody knows. So the interesting thing is, before this Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke, Bhagavan has another verse, correct? न तद्भासयते सूर्यः न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. Then only Mamai Jiva Loke and all comes. So now in this Mamai Jiva Loke, if you take Shankara-Bhashya, Bhashyakara also says Jiva is an avayava of this Paramatma only. Okay. So then if Jiva is an avayava, then Paramatma will become an avayavi and become Anitya and all that. So how do we answer that? Even if we say avayava or amsha, here the amsha amshi bhava is adhyastha. That is what we have to understand. It is all upadhikrita. The amsha amshi bhava is, Bhashyakara himself raises this point, I think, in that bhashya, and he will say that it is like the Surya amsha only is there in the Surya pratibimba, correct? And in fact, he even says that yadgatvana nivartante means what? If the upadhi is destroyed, then the pratibimba goes back to only the bimba, correct? And it never comes back. If the avidya as an upadhi comes to an end totally, then there is no jiva anymore. Jiva is only an abhasa or a pratibimba. This thing comes in the Chandogya Upanishad Bhashya also. Bhashyakara talks about jiva as an abhasa and pratibimba and all that. Even there, of course, there are many opinions about all these things. Whether is jiva is only pratibimba, or what my Guruji used to say is jiva is really atma, but the jivatvam is mithya. Okay, jivatvam is mithya. The pratibimbatvam is mithya, but essentially pratibimba is nothing but bimba. This is one view. Or some people say no, jiva itself is completely only. It is all only pratibimba. It is the jiva itself is mithya. Also, there is a view. Whichever is your view, finally Advaita has to be established. That is the point. Understand that some people get into all these fights within this, and they miss the point, I think. Whichever makes sense to you, finally it has to end up in Advaita. Yeah, that is the important thing here. So this Amshi Bhava for us is not a problem because we look at it as a Upadhikrita only. It is all Adhyastha. And in fact, only if it is like that, Bhashyakara says that Yadgatvana Nivartante Tadhama Paramamama and all will make sense. Otherwise, if this Parandhama, Paramam Dhama is something you have to reach by traveling and all that, then what? Brahma Bona Lokan Punaravartin Arjunaha. Or even in the Mahabharata, there are verses which says that even the Vishnu Loka, if you go, still you have to come back. Krishna himself says that. There is a Krishna Yudhishthira Samvada is there in Mahabharata. There Krishna is saying whether you go to Shiva Loka or Vishnu Loka, whichever Loka, you have to come back. In the Gita also it is there, correct? Even if you go to Brahma Loka, it is all Punaravartinaha. Punaravarti is there. You have to come back. Because once the punya, kshine punye, martya lokam vishanti, we have to say. So whatever you have gained, you have traveled due to some punya. Once that is over, you have to come back. So this yadgatva and nivartante and all will not work if jiva is really an avayava of atma or paramatma. So we have to say that the avayava, avayavi bhava and all is only avidya krita. It's only due to avidya, it is upadhi krita. So it's not a big deal for us, but he is raising that as a point. So if you say that what na vachyam he says, correct? Naka paramatma shesha bhutaha ayam atma nityaha eva ajaha iti vachyam. So they say even though the jiva is a shesha bhuta of paramatma, that jiva is nitya and aja, which is not possible. Okay, anything with an avayava, avayavi bhava, the avayava which has come together, sanyogaha, all the sanyoga are only viyoganta. All also disintegrate. So you cannot say that. And in fact, what he is pointing out is interesting here. He says, Paramatmatvat Atmanaha, whatever Jivatma you call, that Jivatma is really Paramatma only. Okay, it's not that I am saying that. Bhagavan only says that, correct? In the 13th chapter, the Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta mahetvaraha paramatmeti tapyuktaha dehesmin purusha paraha. So here, Upadrashta, Anumanta and all these words are all used. But Upadrashta, Bhashyakara gives very nice meaning there. Because Upa means Samipe is the meaning normally, correct? But then the Atma is the nearest to you, means it is sitting near within you as a Pratyagatma, and also it is just witnessing everything. That is the Upadrashta. And he gives an analogy of Ritvik and all that in that Bhashya. You can go and read interestingly. That normally there is one supervisor in any big Vaidika karma. He is supervising everybody's activity, it seems, whether it is good, bad, ugly, everything. That person is only drashta, upadrashta, like sitting near the wherever the Vedic karma is happening. He is witnessing everything. And Anumanta, Anumanta again he gives different meanings for that. Okay, either Anumodanam and all he takes, or he takes as Anumananam. Whichever. Then Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwaraha is there. So Maheshwara only is there as all these things. And already Bhagavan said, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi, mameva Kshetrajnaha. The Jiva is the Kshetrajna, but the Jiva is not, nothing other than me only. Where when Mam he says, it is like Mam Parameshwaraha or Brahman only, Param Brahma. But here explicitly he says in the next line, Paramatmeti cha api yuktaha. This Jiva only, Upadrashta, Anumanta, all this Kshetrajna is none other than Paramatma only. And he is the one in this Deha, Purushaha, Paraha and all that. But Gita Vachana is there. And further what? Napi Paramatma Paratantra Prakritihi Nitya iti Vachyam. Okay, another thing is what? They are saying even the Prakriti is Nitya, Paramatma Paratantra. We also accept Prakriti is Paramatma Paratantra. It is all only Ishvara Adhina. In fact, this is established in a lot of sutras, even in the Brahma Sutra, because the Sankhya is saying Prakriti or Pradhana is independent. And to refute that, Vyasacharya actually spends a lot of time. Bhashyakara also has written very beautiful Bhashya there, the Sutra Bhashya. Anyway, but then it is Nitya. In fact, even in the Gita, it is that Prakritim Purushan Chaiva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi. Correct? They both are Anadi. Is it not Nitya? But Prakriti is Paratantra. You said that Swatantra only can be Nitya. Means here also we make a we make a difference. Okay, Prakriti and all we say is only Pravaha Nityatvam, because it doesn't retain its Swarupa always. It becomes Avyakta, then it becomes Vyakta, and it is also Savayavi, correct? It is Trigunatmika. All these things are there, even though this Avyakta and Vyakta and all it is becoming, and therefore it has a Pravaha Nityatvam, not like the Brahman, which is the real Nitya, which is not even subjected to space-time. So we don't accept the Prakriti as a Nitya, like Brahman is Nitya. So he says Prakriti he anityatva. So you cannot say Prakriti, even though it is Paratantra and it is Avayavi, is Nitya. Then Jiva also can be like that. That is their argument here. But we say no, no, Prakriti and all is not taken, it cannot be considered as Nitya like Brahman. In fact, he says Brahma Bhinnam Sarvam Hi Anityam. Anything other than Brahman is Anitya only for us. And how do I say that? It's not my view. Again, what? Tat Satyam Ato Anyadartham iti Shrutehe. See, Brahman alone is Satyam. This Paramatma alone is Satyam. Everything other than that is all Artha. This is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay, Maitreyi Brahmanam. So, Ato Anyadartham is quoted a lot, even by Bhashyakara. So, everything other than Brahman is Arthaha. It is all Anitya, Nitya only. Therefore, what? Tasmat Savishaya eva siddhihi Atma Sambandhini Nirvishaya siddhistu Atmaiva. Okay. So, the Atma Sambandhini siddhihi means what? That which becomes evident by coming into contact with Atma, the Chaitanya Atma, the object. That is means there is a Savishaya Siddhi is there. The Vishaya Siddhi is only due to the Vishaya coming into contact with Atma, means Vishaya becomes evident to Atma. Everything becomes evident to Atma. There it is fine. You are saying we are talking about a Sambandha, but even that Sambandha and all is Adhyasika for us. There is no real Sambandha. But Nirvishaya Siddhi, the Siddhi of Atma itself, which is Swata Siddhaha Swaprakasha, there is nothing separate or any sambandha and all is not required. In fact, the Nirvishaya Siddhi is Atma itself. That's why we say it is Swata Siddhi. So he is saying Nirvishaya Siddhi to Atmaiva. It is Atma alone. It is not something separate from Atma. Atma itself is Satyam Jnanam. Correct? No, once we say this, what he is saying, Nacha Nirvishaya Siddhihi Nasti iti Vachyam. So he is saying Nirvishaya Siddhihi Nasti. There is nothing called Nirvishaya Siddhihi. All Siddhi has to happen only due to some Jnanam which is taking place, which is a Jnana Kriya, correct? Jnana alone comes and reveals an object. How can there be any Jnana without any Vishaya, or then it's Siddhi also? That it is existing like that, how can you know means? Now he doesn't go into a big argument here because already we had huge arguments about Nirvishaya Jnanam and Nirvishaya Vastu is there or not and all that. So he's saying that Sadbhavasya Purvam Bahuvaram Samarthitatvat iti. So already we have established that many times before. Don't come now and say that there is nothing called Nirvishaya Siddhihi. We can't accept that. We have already established that. Okay. Once we say this, now he goes into a big Purva Paksha. What? Nanu Samvid Atmana Bhavati. Samvid is not Atma, according to them. Okay. Again, he is stating that. Atmanaha Pratyaktva. So Atma is the innermost. Okay. Pratyaktva. And Samvid is not Atma. Why? Pratyakvam Chanana Jnana Ashrayatvam. That is because this Atma being the innermost is the Ashraya for even Samvit or Jnana. Correct? This Jnana Ashraya, it is not Jnana Surupa, according to them. Okay. And also it is the Jnata, really. Tadhi Jnana Kriya Kartritvam, they say. The Jnana Ashrayatvam, being the Jnana Ashraya only, it becomes the Jnana Karta also, or Jnata, knower. So there is knower, knowledge, known. In this, their interesting theory is what knowledge, what they say is knowledge, reveals itself. That is the Suprakashatam for them. Reveals itself and the object. Whenever the knowledge takes place, the knowledge reveals itself and the object to the Jnata, who is the Atma. Okay? He is what? So he is saying that here. So he is saying what? Samvidascha Jnanatvena. So Samvid is Jnana. Jnana karmatvamiva Jnana kartritvam durghatam. So Samvid being knowledge, it is neither the knower nor the object of knowledge. It is something different from both the object and the knower. Therefore, you cannot say that it is the Jnata also. Therefore, what? Tasmat Sakarmakaha Anubhavituhu Atmanaha Dharma Visheshaha Swasad Kasyachit Vasunaha Vyavahara Anugunya Apadana Swabhavaha Anubhavaha Samvite Natu Atma iti. Okay, so now what is their final conclusion? Therefore, he is saying what? Sakarmakaha Anubhavituhu. So the Anubhavituhu is the Atma for him. Okay, the one who is the knower. And that knower only is the Sakarmakaha, means he is the Ashraya for the Jnana Karma or Jnana Kriya. The Sakarmakaha Anubhavituhu is the Atma. The knower who is the Ashraya for the Jnana Kriya, and the Jnana itself is a Dharma Visheshaha of this Atma. So that's why they have this Dharma Bhuta Jnanam and Dharmi Bhuta Jnanam and all they talk about. Atma is Dharmi Bhuta Jnanam and this Dharma Bhuta Jnanam is the Jnanam which they say is Samvit, and that is only a Vishesha. Again there is a Vishesha and Vishishta. Atma is the Vishishta, Jnanam is the Vishesha. And what is the Swarupa of this Jnanam? Swasat Bhavenaiva. So this Jnana, when it reveals an object, it also reveals itself, he's saying. So Swasadbhavenaiva, by revealing itself, and also Kasyachit Vastunaha, Vyavahara Anugunya Apadana Swabhavaha means during Vyavahara, here Vyavahara is the Jnana Kriya. It facilitates the revelation of an object and also it reveals itself. By revealing its own existence and also by lighting up an object of knowledge, that is how it becomes Vyavahara Anugunya, or that is what they call. Any Vyavahara presupposes knowledge, so it is facilitating Vyavahara by revealing itself and revealing the object of knowledge. And this is what is its Swabhava, its nature. And that is what we call Anubhavaha or Samvit. and it cannot be Atma. Okay, Anubhavaha Samvit Natu Atma iti che. So if you say it is not Atma, this is what they are saying. Means Ma evam, it cannot be there. It cannot be like this. Why? Atmanaha Jnana Dharma Katvam eva Vipratipannam Jnana Swarupam tu Sampratipannam. So what we say is that Atma is revealed as Nirdharmaka, Nirgunaha by the Shruti very clearly. And all Nanatvam is also rejected in Atma. So, this Jnana Dharma Tattvam, you have no pramana to actually establish that. It is actually contradictory to say that Atma has Jnana as a Dharma. It is only Jnana Swarupa. Prajnana Ghanam and all we say. Correct? Atma is Prajnana Ghanaha. It's one homogeneous consciousness. There cannot be any Dharma Dharmi Bhava and all that in that. So, whatever is acceptable and Sarva Pramana Siddha is Jnana Swarupatum. Therefore, what Tatra Atmanaha Swarupa Bhutam Jnanam Kriyaiva iti Katham Atmanaha api Pratyaktam. So, this Atmanaha Swarupa Bhuta Jnanam, once we accept, then it cannot be a Kriya. Understand that? Atma Swarupa cannot be Kriya anymore. Okay? Then Atma will not be Pratyak, because then the Kriya, whatever is the Kriya Ashraya will become the innermost. So, this Swarupa Bhuta Jnanam can never be Kriya. But then Jnana Kriya is there. We all know that that is what we call Jnanam. So, how do we account for it? Means we say, okay, once we say this, what he is coming back, he is saying, Nacha Kriya Bhuta Bhutat Jnanad Anya Deva Jnanam Atmanaha Swarupa Bhutam iti Vachyam. Okay, now he is saying what? No, even I am also not saying this Kriya is Atma Swarupa. I am also saying Atma is something other than this Jnana Kriya only. No? It is only Kriya Ashraya, even according to me. So that is the Swarupa, that is the Atma, but that also they sometimes call Jnana Dravyam and all that. In fact, already we had a discussion what is the difference between the Jnana which is there in the Jnana Dravyam and the Jnana which is the Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Even there are difficulties are there for them to say what is what. So he is claiming that I am also saying this Kriya Bhuta Jnana Anya Deva, something other than the Kriya Bhuta Jnana only, I am also saying as this Atmanaha Swarupam. But even if you say that what he is saying, what you cannot say that. Why? Tadeva Atma Swarupa Jnanam Asmabihi Samviditi Uchyate iti. If you accept that, fine. Then what we are saying is, whatever we call as Samvid or Jnanam is that Swarupa Bhuta Jnanam only, which is Atma. Okay. So, you are taking the Vritti Jnanam as Jnanam and calling it Dharma Bhuta Jnanam and all that. In fact, even that is okay. We accept the Vritti Jnanam. Okay, we don't have a problem with that. So, in fact, I think he will say that. So, he is saying, Yastu Ghatamaham Janami iti Sakarmakaha Anubhavaha Saha Na Atmanaha Dharmaha. So, what we say is what? The Ghatamaham Janami, I know this part, which is the objective knowledge, right? Sakarmakaha here means it is objective. The karma here can be taken as objective knowledge, or it is the result of a karma or a kriya. That way also we can take. That is the anubhava, but that anubhava is not the dharma of Atma. Na Atmanaha dharmaha. Okay? Napi Atma kintu. So it is also not Atma. Whatever the Vritti Jnanam in the form of I know this part is also not Atma or Atma Swarupa. Neither it is a dharma of Atma. Then what? Kintu Vritti Jnanakhya Antakarana Dharmaha eva. So all these things are all only Antakarana Dharma. The Vritti itself is Antakarana Vritti. So any Vritti Jnana, what we call as Vritti Jnana, so Vritti Jnana Akhyaha Antakarana Dharmaha eva. So it is all not Atma Dharma. It's all Antakarana Dharma. Once we say this, what? Nacha Anubhavas Chetana Dharmaha Katam Jada Dharmaha Bhavitum Arhati, he is asking. Jadam hi Antakaranam iti Vachyam. So he is saying what? Anubhavaha Chetana Dharmaha Katam. How can this Anubhava be the Dharma of the Achetana? Correct? So how can it not be the Chetana Dharma, and how can it become Jada Dharma? Because Antakarana is Jada. Okay, Jadam hi Antakaranam. You cannot say why. Nahi Antakaranam Ghatavat Jadam. So now we are differentiating between sentient and insentient in the creation. So Antakarana is not like Ghata. Okay, it is Sattva Pradhana. That's why. Okay, into Chaitanya Pratiphalana Grahi Eva means it can manifest Chaitanya, or it can reflect Chaitanya, and all you can say. Okay, this reflect word sometimes confuses people. So I prefer to use the word it can manifest Chaitanya. Correct? Because reflection means, even yesterday somebody called phone, they called me and said, how can this Brahman which is Nirakara be reflected anywhere, and all these things. So now we have to answer that if it is a real reflection, whatever you are saying is true, correct? There is no real reflection also, in fact. But anyway, if you say that, means it's not very easy for them to understand. So finally, we have to say that no, don't worry. Whatever is called as reflection or abhasa and all, correct? Pratibimba, abhasa, these words are all used. So abhasa can be even translated as resemblance or semblance, something which is, or even the vijnana mayaha, Bhashyakara, in the Brihadaranyaka, the word vijnana mayaha is used for jiva. Why? Because it is vijnana prayaha, he says. It is as though like this vijnana, the buddhi. Vijnana, there is buddhi. The Atma, the closest, it is available only in the buddhi, correct? The Atma, Chaitanya Swarupa, is available in the buddhi. But to do the viveka between buddhi and Atma is a very difficult thing, he says. That's why Atma itself is called Vijnana Mayaha, because it is like the buddhi. Okay? It is Vijnana Mayaha. Like that also we call. Anyway, so here, this is the question. But what we say is Antakarana is like a reflecting medium, we have to say. Chaitanya Pratiparana Grahi Eva Yatha Darpana Surya Pratipalana Grahi Tadvat. So, like even the mirror can reflect Surya, not everything can reflect Surya. So, there is a difference between a mirror and a rock. Okay. So, like that, we have to understand. So, it is not Gatavat Jadam. Therefore, what? Ati Swacha Dravyam Hi Antakaranam, he says. So, this Antakarana is very pure substance, he says. Ati Swacha. And Panchabhuta Satvamsha Panchaka Samarabdhatva means it is produced or created from the Satvamsha of the Tanmatras, correct? Of the Panchabhutas. So it is a mixture of the Satvamsha of all the 5 Panchabhutas. So that's why we call Sattva. The word Sattva is used to refer to Antakarana itself. Sattva Shuddhi and all is used. Therefore, Evam Atma Anugraha Vashat Prapta Chaitanyasya Antakaranasya Dharmaha tu Twaduktaha Anubhavaha. Therefore, whatever Anubhava you are saying or Samvit you are talking about, what is that? It is really what Atma Anugraha Vashat we say, due to the blessings of Atma or presence of Atma. Atma only manifests, the Atma Chaitanyam manifests in the Antakarana, and the Antakarana looks like it is sentient now. Okay? Even though Antakarana is Jada. We also accept Antakarana is Jada, but it's not Jada like Ghata. It is Ati Swacha Dravya. It is able to manifest consciousness. And in this manner, whatever the Chaitanya which is manifest there in the Antakarana, that manifestation is what you are calling as Anubhavaha. Okay, the Vritti Pratipalita Chaitanya. Okay, now once you say this, what he is saying, Nacha Tatra Pramanam Asti. So, tatra pramanam nasti is saying. Okay. Where is the pramana for all these things? We say, yes, it is there. Why? Bredarneka is there. Kamaha, Sankalpaha, Vichikitsa, Shraddha, Ashraddha, Dhritihi, Adritihi, Hirir, Dhir, Bhir, Ityetat Sarvam, Mana Eva iti Shrutehe Eva Atra Manatva. So all these Antakarana Vrittis are really listed out. In fact, it's not even a complete list. You have to take it as a Upalakshana. So all these things are only Manodharma. In fact, this particular quotation Bhashyakara uses to negate the Nayayika's view, correct? Because Nayayikas say all these things are Atma Dharma. And that is what even these people are saying. Correct? Jnana itself is an Atma Dharma. Jnana cannot have any Dharma and still be Nitya and Vibhu and all that. Okay, so Kamaha, Sankalpaha, Vichikitsa. In fact, here the Bhi is left out. There is a printing mistake here. It should be Hrir, Dhir, Bhir. Ityetat Sarvam Manayeva iti. So this Shruti is there, Brihadaranyaka Shruti. And this is there in the first chapter itself. Okay, Etena Jnana Atirikta Ajada Vritti Kalpanam Apramanamiti Sutta Prakashika Parasta. So we also in this manner we negate the objection which is raised in Sutta Prakashika. Sutta Prakashika Kara says anything other than the Jnanam, whatever they call as Jnanam, Jnana Atirikta, Jada Vritti Kalpanam, Apramanam they say. So there is no Pramana to say that Anubhava is Jada Vritti. There is Pramana because Sukha, Dukkha and all are Anubhava, correct? Nobody can say even Hirir, Dhir, Bhir, fear, all these things are all Anubhava. But all these things are mind alone, like that Shruti itself is saying. Therefore, whatever the Sutta Prakashika Kara has said, that there is no Pramana to establish this, this is also negated. Further, what Kamadi Rupena Manasaha Parinamam Hi Shruti Hi Eva Abravi. So, this Shruti also is saying what? This Kama, etc., only are nothing but modifications of mind. Kama, Sankalpaha, Vichikitsa, etc., it has said. Shruti has said that clearly. Therefore, Tameva, Hi Rupa Parinamam Manasaha Vrittimiti Yuyam Brumaha iti. So, that is what this Dhi Rupa Parinama only is the Manasaha Vritti. You also have to accept that. Or Vayam Brumaha also you can say. We say that whether you accept or not, we say that that is the Manovritti. Therefore, what? In fact, it should be Vayam Brumaha only, I think. Yadi tu Tadeva Antakarana Dravyam Asmabihi Atmashritam Jnana Dravyam iti uchyate Tarhi Santoshaha Heva, he says. Okay. He's saying if you say this Antakarana Dravya, it's the what we say is Atma Shrita, and that is the Jnana Dravya. Because they talk about a Dharmi Bhuta Jnanam, which is Jnana Dravya, and Dharma Bhuta Jnanam. But that Dharma Bhutas, Dharmi cannot be Atma according to us. You say if you say that it is Antakarana, then it is fine because Shruti itself is talking about all these things as Antakarana Dharma. So all these Anubhava or Antakarana Dharma, if you say, then we are happy. Tarhi Santoshaha eva. We are not quarreling with you. Then that is fine. But don't say that Dharmi Bhuta Jnanam is or the Ashrita or the Ashraya for this is Atma. Okay. Parantu na tan Nitya Dravyam, but it cannot be Nitya Dravya. They also say that Jnana Dravya is Nitya. No. So it is not really Dravya. See, we don't accept Atma as Dravya because generally Dravya means it is Guna Ashraya. Like that it is understood. So that's why we don't accept Atma as a Dravya also. You cannot classify into anything really. Any classification only we don't accept. So you cannot say it is a dravya and you can say it is nitya. Any dravya also will become anitya for us because it becomes the guna ashraya and guna guni bhava and all will come. That cannot be nitya. So you cannot say it is nitya dravya. Tasya janyatvena anityatva because it is having janya only. All this antakarana also has the janya, the manovritti also has janya. All these things are anitya. There is no question of the antakarana being a nitya dravya because yet janyam tadhi anityam. So whatever is born is anitya. There is no doubt in that. Further, what etad antakarana tadatmya adhyasadeva atmanaha nyatritvam. So then, but how does atma become the knower? Kshetrajnaha means that is only because the antakarana tadatmya adhyasadeva. This is only due to adhyasa. Antakarana tadatmya adhyasa, the itara adhyasa is there. In fact, it is totally illogical. How can it be there? Like you can question that. But the only thing we can say is that it is there. That's why we call it Naisargikoyam Lokam Vyavaharaha, like that Bhashyakara starts in the Brahma Sutra Adhyasa Bhashya also. So it is already there. The only thing you can do is get rid of it. Okay, so don't go on analyzing it is really there or not. Means if you analyze it, in fact, it will not be there. That is the beauty. That is why it is Maya. So it is only due to Tadatma Adhyasa only Atma becomes Jnata. Otherwise, Atma is not a Jnata. None of this Triputi can be applied to Atma. So, Atmanaha Jnatritvam Yat Vaya Darshitam. So, whatever you said that Atma is a Jnatri, Jnata, that is only due to Adhyasa. Okay, this is a Tadatma Adhyasa between Antakarana and Atma. So, it is not real. So, Yatha Sukhadi Akara Parinata Antakarana Tadatmya Adhyasat Atmanaha Ham Sukhi Ityadi Vyavaharaha. So, when you say I am happy, really what is that? There is a Sukhakara Antakarana Vritti. There is Antakarana Vritti in the form of Sukha, and then you identify with that. There is a Tadatmya Adhyasa. Then you say that I am happy. In fact, even there, I am only the knower of happiness. That is the truth. Correct? Similarly, Dukkha also. Here he didn't say Sukhi Ityadi, he said. Adi Padat, Dukkham also. That is why my Guruji used to always say, what he used to say? That if you say, I know my suffering, the normal logic, worldly logic is what? Then you are suffering, you are a sufferer, correct? I know my suffering, therefore I am sufferer. I am the one who is suffering. But Vedantic logic is what? I know my suffering, therefore I am not suffering. Suffering is only an object of your knowledge. You can never, the knower can never become the known object. So any suffering also is only antakarana dharma. It is not I. It has got nothing to do with I. Therefore, the Vedantic logic is totally opposite. But you cannot go and give this logic when somebody is grieving and all that. Okay? Don't go to where you have to give condolence. Don't go and say that if this is all not applicable. Ashocyan anvashocastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasuna gatasumscha nanu shochanti panditaha. Like that. I don't know whether you can really say it. You cannot say that. But that is the truth. Okay? So, this is all this Vyavahara, Sukha Dukkhadi Vyavahara is purely because of Tadatmya Adhyasa alone. Or also he is giving analogy. Yatava Dagdritva Ashraya Vanhi Tadatmya Adhyasad Ayasaha Ayodahati iti Vyavahara Tadvate. Also like what? The Dagdritvam. Okay, the burn, the ability to burn is not there in iron. It is there only in Vanhi, in fire. But then what? When the red hot iron ball is there, the fire and iron are together, correct? There is a tadatmya there, and you are not able to differentiate between the two. Means you can say that ayaha dahati. In fact, this kind of a thing, Bhashyakara in the Upadesha Sahasri, he uses this to even say that the dahati kind of whatever words are all used, it is all only used with reference to the ahankara. But from there, it lakshanaya, it points to atma and all that. Even here we have to say all this jnatritvam and all is really only for the ahankara. And from there, lakshanaya, but it is pointing, without the atma being there, jnata also is not there. So lakshanaya we have to take. So all this vyavahara is there. Ayaha dahati iti vyavaharaha only is there, but it is not really that it has, that is the surupa of that. Therefore, what? Tasmat sakarmakat antakarna dharmat vrittik jnanad anyaha eva anubhavaha atmaswarupa bhutaha suti siddhaha iti samvideva atma. So finally what we are establishing? Sakarmaka antakarna dharma. So antakarna dharma which is having all this karma, correct, kriya. Vrittik jnana, which is also called as vrittik jnana by us. From that anyaha eva, something which is different from that. Anubhavaha, atma. So this atma is anubhava surupa itself, correct? It is of the very nature of anubhava, samvit or jnanam. So atma swarupa bhutaha eva anubhavaha for us. That's why even in the Brihadaranyaka, see, this Swayamjyoti Brahmanam is very beautiful. Yadvai tanna pashyati, pashyanvai tanna pashyati. Like that it says. Even though it is not seeing anything in the sleep, it still has the nature of seeing, correct? The consciousness is there. Yadvai tanna pashyati, pashyanvai tanna pashyati, nahi drashtuhu drishter viparilopo vidyate avinashitva. So the drashtra swarupa is jnana swarupa. It is avinashi always. That's why it is the seer of sight itself. And it is unceasing. The seer of sight never ceases. Like this, you can give a very nice English rhyming statement. The seer of sight never ceases because it is indestructible. Avinashitva. While seeing only, it does not see anything else. Even in sleep, that is the Swarupa Bhuta Atma we are talking about. That Swarupa never goes away. It can never go away because it is Nitya. It is Aja. That alone is Atma for us. And so again, it still continues. Okay. We'll see that in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.